All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So, today's lesson, we're going to be going over the effects of the Articles of Confederation. So, just in case you forgot, the Articles of Confederation was like the first document our government had, basically just saying what the government's power was and things like that. And it was horrible. And now, because of that, our government's trying to create a new document where it will give the government power, and they're trying to figure out to like what is the power of the government, what rights do people have, and things like that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. All right, so here is your warm-up picture. Okay, the first question asks you to basically tell me, what do you think is going on here? What do you think they're working on? All right, now if you look at the bottom of of the picture, you'll see some papers on the ground, torn up, ripped up. So you know somebody just looked at it and went, you know what, this is crap, and they just started tearing it up, and see crumpled up papers on the ground too. So you can tell they've been thinking about this, going over this document, whatever it is. Okay. The second question asks you to name all three people, and I gave you kind of a clue that two of these guys were presidents. Okay, so you know based off this that we're talking about the beginning of our country. You know is going to be like the first within the first like six presidents. You know it's not going to be like Lincoln and things like that because Lincoln wasn't even born when this was happening. So okay, so pause the video, write your response because we're moving on in three, two, one. All right, so May 1787, every state except Rhode Island sent delegates to the uh, Constitutional Convention. Sorry about that. And these delegates were representatives. They all went to Philadelphia, which was our capital at that time. And their sole purpose was to revise the Article of Confederation. Basically, take it and try to adjust it, change it. Okay. But as soon as these delegates got there and they're talking to each other a little bit, basically they're like, you know what, we just start from scratch because this thing sucks. It's horrible. Why even keep it? Any part of it? Let's just toss it away and start new. And sometimes that's the best decision, and that's exactly what they did. Now, there were 55 delegates that went to this constitutional convention. And some of these guys were the most distinguished, the most like recognizable people in our country at that time. Okay. Um, Now, when they got there, they're basically saying, okay, we need somebody to be the presiding officer, somebody to basically tell us when the meeting starts, make sure people aren't making some shady deals on the side, make sure that if people start yelling and screaming over one another, they can stop that. And everyone basically looked in the back and looked at George Washington, and Washington's like, all right, sure, yeah, I'll do it. So he became the presiding officer. Now, what other famous people were there? Well, number one, Benjamin Franklin. Now, you have to remember, this is before the internet, before electricity. The way that books were made, or newspapers, they would have to put little tiles down and put ink on it and then get a paper, put on top, and then smash it. So it wasn't the quickest way, and yet still Benjamin Franklin was known around the world. He was a world celebrity. Okay. The next big guy was like Alexander Hamilton. Very smart man, extremely smart. But when it comes to money, there is nobody better because he is a really guru when it comes to money, how to handle it, how to invest in things like that. Okay. And one of the other people was James Madison. Now, Madison was one of the youngest people there. Uh, even though he was, again, considerably younger than Benjamin Franklin, he was very smart and he knew how government worked and things like that. So, hey, bring this young buck in and see what he can do and see what ideas he has. All right, so here's your first question. why would it be wise for every state to send a person or persons to represent them at this constitutional convention? Why would it be wise? Okay, so think about it. Some states they sent one person, some two, some five. Some people just send a group of people to represent their state. So why would it be wise to send people to represent your state when you're talking about forming the government? Okay, so think about it. Write your response because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right. So there were three things every single delegate agreed on, all 55 of them, which was rare, but there's three things that all of them agreed on. One, the government needed more power to gather taxes. The government could not again be like how it was during the Articles of Confederation. It could not be begging states and people to pay their taxes. That was like a no. It could not happen again. So they're like, we need to make sure the government can get their money, so we can pay off our debts, we can pay off this and that. Um, so that was number one thing. Second thing, make laws that would be binding upon the states. Okay, so bring laws that could basically go from one state to the other and things like that. You know, that they can't say, oh, well, here in this state, we have a law that says this and that, but if you do commit that crime and you go to another state, you're free. No, 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 none of that stuff. The other thing is the government would be broken up into three branches: the executive, legislative, and judicial. Now, other than those three things, that was it. Other than that, they were fighting and arguing about every issue. The biggest one that came up was the issue of states. How do you make state power fair for big and small states? One person basically said, we should make every state even. Every state should be equal. Small states were like, yeah, that is so true. That is so. Every state should be equal. But big states were like, wait. Okay, hold on. So you're telling me a state that has like 1,000 people should be the same power as a state with 10,000 people? How is that right? You're basically saying that these 10,000 people, their voice is less than these people just because the state was small. That's not their fault. So why should their voice not count? So large states then said it should be based on population. The more people you have, the more power you have. And small states were like, no, that doesn't work, because here's the thing. If a law came up and we were going to vote, if a large state says yes, we want this law, all the small states say no, all the small states do not equal to one large state. So the large state would win always. So how is that fair? And that's where the problem is. That's where the issue truly came to. How do you make it fair? Do you make every state equal, or do you base it on population? Either way, one side's going to be hurting. So how do you fix this problem? And that's where your next question comes up. How do you think the power should be given to the states? Should it be based on population? Or should it be that every state is equal, regardless if you're large state or small state? And remember, states can't take over land of another state. They can't. Okay, the borders are drawn up, they're already set. A state like Rhode Island can't grow any bigger. So how do you solve this problem? Okay, what would you suggest? And there you go. That's your question. Okay. Once you finish this question, that's it. You're done with this lesson. Good job. Way to go. Okay. So in class we would be doing stations. So if you by chance have your vocab, your research papers, your 15 questions and the shoe, if you have any of that stuff at your home right now, work on that, get that done, turn it into class next time you show up. Okay. So with that being said, guys, take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later, okay?